Welcome to How to Build a Tent, the podcast on how to make you successful. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening to the show, sharing the show, tagging the show, or tagging a friend to the show, or vice versa. Either way is a great thing, and I appreciate it. Thank you for all the subscribers. Just sent out some mugs, the HtBT mugs that you get when you go over to the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network. Put in HtBT in the memo field, and you'll join the hundreds, the thousands, the millions. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's not that many. But you'll join a large group of people that have come, supported the show, as part of the club, and help keep this thing going. So thank you to those who have. Thank you for those who are going to do it right now. They're going to go over and just go fightlaughfeast.com. Put in HtBT in the memo field. You'll get this mug. You'll get other great benefits, and most of all, you'll be coming alongside of us as we proclaim the Lordship of Jesus in every area of life. And they may even have some of those pint glasses left over, so you'll get a twofer for your subscription. It's never been a better time to subscribe and support us. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, any of those things you want to give, you can reach out to me directly. It will come right to me. I don't have anyone who screens it. I read it personally. I respond directly and thoughtfully, and I don't just brush you off. I promise. That's my How to Build a Tent Scouts Honor promise. You can email me, matt@howtobuildatent.com. You can find me on the social media sites, How to Build a Tent. Thank you for all those who have subscribed. Really appreciate it. I don't pay for likes or getting my, the podcast out there. So all of the likes, all of the sharing and the views have come from you guys. I really appreciate that. Thank you for all of your support. It really does mean the world to me, especially days like today where, oh man, sometimes you just want to call it quits. Not with the podcast, but not even really with anything. But it's just one of those days where you just want to go sit in the pool and drink a beer in a koozie. Yeah, that would have been nice today. I didn't have time. I was busy putting out fires, but hey, it gives good podcast material. One of the things I was looking at, I wanted to do, before I get into what I wanted to talk about today, I was unpacking my books. If you can kind of see, if you're watching, a little bit of some of them behind me. I'm still missing some. But there was this book I cracked open. It's called Microsoft SQL Server 2012 T-SQL Fundamentals. I highly recommend this book. And for those of you listening, it's, again, Microsoft SQL Server 2012 T-SQL Fundamentals. Now, I'm sure there's probably updates to this book. I've had it for a while. But this is the book, along with YouTube and another SQL website that is dedicated to helping you learn how to program, learn how to, not program, but write SQL query languages so you can query and pull reports. This was a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. If you are looking to learn a skill, develop a skill, you can teach yourself SQL. If you are comfortable with logical equations, things that make like simple logic, those kinds of things, then SQL might be a great skill for you to learn. You can learn on the side. And if you are at a big company, most likely there are people in your organization that do already know SQL and use it to run reports off their servers, their data warehouses, or whatever they have, depending on the size of your company and the resources they have employed. So if you might want to reach out to one of them or ask questions and maybe let your boss know that you're learning, and hey, maybe that'll lead to a promotion, a raise, or something along that line. That T-SQL's book was great, along with the practice. There's some really good websites out there where you can practice. They can take some tests and you can learn how to use SQL. And I'm telling you, like, even to this day, having that knowledge has helped. Being able to have questions and go into a database and look up the answers myself and be able to control the data myself and not be dependent on somebody else to provide reporting data to me, but I can take it, shape it however I want, and I know that it's what I was wanting to see. One of the hardest things about data is getting accurate data. So a lot of times people ask for reports and they won't know all of the requirements that they want or need, or maybe they'll misspeak and there'll be some misinterpretation between the requester, or usually a business, and those who are actually writing the queries. And so being able to just cut out the middleman and go to the source yourself is a really great tool to have, not just to further your career, but for yourself, to help you make your job easier. It's amazing how many people come to you to write reports that they would just benefit themselves from it, but they never have the discipline or whatever it is, the time to do it. Today was a really tough day for me because I was without internet all day long. Spectrum is our internet provider. Usually I love them, but I've been here a couple weeks now in Florida, and there's been some outages, and I called them, and the guy on the phone was really nice, and he did some troubleshooting, and he found out that it was their issue. And turns out just to cut to the end of the story, or they needed to replace my modem, but they couldn't send somebody out till 4 or 5 at night, and they give you that range, right? They can't give you a specific time. I was talking to the guy, and I was like, hey, I work from home. Like, I need internet connection. Is there anything that can be done? Like, can you send somebody out sooner? I'm like, nope, it's within the SLA. And like, first of all, no one knows that is not in the business world what an SLA is, but service level agreement. And that is like the contractual obligations that you agreed to when you signed up for them or whatever, but no one reads that. And I just want to say, if you ever have to refer to your SLAs in a customer service inquiry or a request, then you are not giving great customer service. You should never have to rely on the contract. You should be looking for ways to go above and beyond. Now, I understand that the utility cable industry has very little competition, and so they've never had to evolve and to create. They've never had that agile mindset that we talked about last episode. And definitely a company that is not agile would be the utility cable companies. But just to have to refer to an SLA when you are talking with somebody and trying to give good customer service is just not a good move. And well, besides the point, they came out, they replaced the modem, it was all set up, and they didn't set up my Wi-Fi. Now, I understand that our Wi-Fi, we have the Orbi Mesh, which I highly recommend if you have a big house and you are like messing around with extender. I'm not a big fan of extenders of the routers, but they didn't set it up and they left it, and they're like, I'm sorry, we can't touch the routers because it's not our routers and we can only deal with the modems, which, like, you really can't do it, or are you just not doing it because you're cheap and you're trying to get as many service calls with the fewest amount of people as possible? Now, if you wanted to give great customer service, you would make sure that everything is set up and running as best as possible. But again, because they don't need to have the greatest customer service, like seriously, there's really no other options for me here if I want high-speed internet. And when I mean high speed, I don't mean like the 25 megabits that HughesNet considers high-speed internet, which, yes, that's exactly how much that they were advertising as high-speed internet. I'm talking about I need like at least 400 megabytes per second because of all the stuff that's going on in this house and how much data I'm running constantly. I'm on the phone all the time streaming, TV streaming, just everything. Anyways, so they don't have that much competition and they don't have to compete, which hopefully someday there will be some great competition out there that will make the whole utility of internet way more beneficial to the customer and have the customer more in control than the business. But as it stands, because the regulations and so many other things I can't even imagine, I'm not an expert in the field, customer service is not that great. Again, the people there, super nice, but just the whole process and procedures and just how they operate, the modus operandi of these companies it's quite sad. So I had to resort all day long to using my phone as a hotspot to connect my computer to get things done, which is difficult because I do all my trading on my Robinhood app, which some of you asked for a link to get a free stock. If you want to get that free stock, you send me a link. I'll send you one so you get a free stock. I just don't advertise it anymore because I don't want to go through advertising commercials. I don't want them, but it's a good app. I still use it. I did a really interesting strategy today or I had an event come up where I tried a new strategy, which worked out, which was I thought I'd share. I had a call for a $98 price for Zoom. Was it 98? No, it was $96. It was a $96 price on an option, on a call option. I bought it 3 or 4 days ago because Zoom got hit because there was this gap in that left Macs exposed to where the camera can be controlled. And anyways, it was a whole thing, and I just knew that it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. I mean, those are updates you can send out, and the likelihood of a lawsuit or some like material damage from something like that seemed to be like kind of far-fetched. So I wanted to trade some options and get some calls because I knew the stock price would go up. Well, today it went up. At one point it was over 7%, which means my call exponentially went up higher. I ended up making, I think, like 125% off of the original call. And what I did is I was watching the stock, like pretty focused on this one stock just for a day because I wanted to try something new. And I got to about 7%, and there was some ups and downs to get there, but you really felt the momentum of just how the volume of stock that was being traded and how it was being pressured and hitting up. There was like points. I think one of the points that I was watching was like 90. It was at $97.80, and then it hit there like a couple times, and then went up to $98 or $99. And then it like hit there a couple times, went down, and then hit back. And it's like you could see the stock like edging up, hitting the ceiling, tapping it, coming back down, tapping it again, and then breaking through. And it was just repeatedly doing that till it got to about 7%. We're like, wow, man, if a stock goes up in 7% in one day, that is incredible. But I knew that wasn't sustainable. Like, it was going to come down. People were going to start selling off because, I mean, there's going to be people like, okay, 7% isn't a lot, and then people will just start selling off because you figure other people are going to sell off, and then it happens. And sure enough, it did. But what I did is I sold as soon as I started to feel like the stock didn't really have much more momentum to go. I mean, 7%. Like, what are the odds that it's going to go up even higher? So what I did is I sold. I bought a short-term put that expires in like 3 days. And sure enough, the stock came down. It went down to like 5%. I think I bought it around 6%, honestly. I sold at 7, bought the put at 6. I mean, where it was at 6% gain. So I think it was at like I bought a $99 put, but it was like it's $96.75 to get your money back because of all the fees and stuff. And then came down. And what I did also, though, is because I believe in this stock long term, is I took some of the money I used that I gained from the original call, and I bought a long-term call with that one. So I have a short-term put and a long-term call that I used the gains I made from my original call, and I still had some extra money left over to invest in other stocks. I'm kind of like breaking even right now on the two new options that I did, the one short-term put and the one long-term call, because I just feel like that was a really big jump. And even though I believe in the stock, I think that it's just like there's going to be a natural trend. So I'm going to watch. I'm going to keep an eye. I was expecting a bigger sell-off today, but it didn't really happen, which is okay. I have a couple days, and if it expires, so what? It wasn't that expensive. It was, it's kind of gambling. But it was interesting. So I made a huge amount of money off a call, but I wanted to continue. So what I did is I sold it off with the assumption that there's going to be some kind of pullback in the stock because of how well it did, just short term, and with the put. But then I also, because I still believe in the stock, I think it has room to go even higher because just the industry in the video conference world is huge. And so I bought a long-term call as well that's like expires in 2020, and it was around the 52-week high, which, I mean, the stock hasn't been around for 52 weeks. But so that's going to be that's my move. I'm going to see how it plays out. It's really interesting because I have a short and I'm long on the stock at the same time. Some people say it's hedging, but I'm not really hedging. I'm just assuming there's going to be a pullback short term, get rid of that, and then I'm not going to have a put and just watch the stock climb. Because I mean, man, I love that stock. I love Zoom. I love that company, and I am looking forward to seeing that one keep going up. That's another one that I think whenever I see drops, I'm going to be buying as much as I can, because I think that they get it. And yeah, there might be setbacks. There always are in companies, but the opportunity, the market, and just the management of the team is something that I really appreciate and enjoy. And I'll say this too. The last thing I'll say about it, some people have called me or not called me. They've emailed me or direct messaged me, and they've asked, like, how do you do research on company management? You've said before, like, you should do your research, understand management, you should know them and believe in them before you invest in the company, because management is a big deal. And how do you do that? Well, one of the things that I've done, like in the case of Zoom, is not only use the product and seeing how they interact. I've talked to employees there, like through customer service, through conferences, just through events that the company itself puts on. And you just get a feel from how the culture of the company is, how the employees are, how excited they are about the product, how the product functions, how they respond to incidents. And then also just interviews of the CEO and how they talk, and not even just what they say, because obviously CEOs are political and they always say things that are going to build up the company. But you just want to see, like, you almost like a gut feel. I mean, this is more definitely an art of it than a science. But just like, how do they come off? Are they relaxed? Or do they feel nervous? Do they feel under pressure? Like, what kind of verbiage do they use? How do they talk? What do they talk about their competition? How are they humble? Or are they prideful? Are they arrogant? Like, those are the kind of things that you can pick up on when just watching. And the more you listen to them and understand them and know about them, the more educated of a guess you will give. Now, it's not as good as the Warren Buffetts who get to go in and actually talk to them, meet with them, and see stuff because of how much money he throws around. But, I mean, you got to do what you can do with. You got to do the best you can with what you have. So that's my advice to people that are looking to invest in know management before they invest in companies. So we talked about my Zoom. We talked about the utility company. And I want to talk to you about Orbi, another customer service experience. And I want to talk about it not because it was a bad experience. It was actually pretty good. I was on the phone for an hour though, and it just seriously sucked the life out of me. It's not the fault of the customer service person, but there was a loop that my Orbi got set in because we replaced the modem thanks to Spectrum, because they gave us a broken one. And the Orbi was just not handling it. It did not feel it at all, which, like, I have like 50 or 60 smart devices in my house, including all the light switches and stuff. So I really needed it to get back online. So I was on the phone with somebody from India, and it was a call center. Like, you could hear the other calls with the people in the room. You could hear it, like 20 different conversations going at once. Which, I have nothing against using the Indian call centers, but I just want you to be aware that if you choose to offshore your customer service, like we've talked about before, customer service is part of the reputation of your brand. And if you want to pass that off to people that aren't attached, that don't get the idiosyncrasies of your culture, that don't really get the nuances of what you talk about and how you say things and verbiage. Like, I love talking to the Indian call centers because I'm super sarcastic. And the Indian culture, from what I've understood, don't really know how to handle it because they're so polite and they're so nice. And they're great people. I mean, there's nothing against Indian people, but I just love dealing with them and being like super sarcastic and having dry humor, because you could just tell they just don't know how to process it. I mean, crazy American who has this weird sense of humor. But it just reminded me just to like the importance of customer service and how you are making a trade-off when you are offshoring. You're not just saving money, but you're making a trade-off. The trade-off is you're not going to give as good customer service. You're not going to give people this excellent experience when they're going through something that's frustrating, they're probably very upset about, but you are saving money. On the other hand, you can spend more money and get people that are familiar with the language, the culture, because they live in that culture and that's their first language, but you spend a little bit more money, but you could give amazing customer service. Like at the end of my customer service call today, they tried to upsell me. That was the other thing. Now, this isn't a cultural, like offshore versus onshore discussion, but like I just spent an hour and a half on the phone with you because your product sucks, it doesn't suck. I take that back because there was something wrong with the product, and then you try to sell me a protection plan. Like, are you kidding me? Oh, I was so upset about that. Anyway, it's like, don't you know I got it at Costco? I have 2-year warranty already. I don't need your 2-year warranty. But so there's always trade-offs with that. All right, now let's go out and be successful together. We'll talk tomorrow.